They don't think like you, not because they're better, not because they're lucky, but because they were willing to tear down the lies the world taught them and build a new mind in its place. You see a bank account, they see a canvas. You see risk, they see leverage. You see failure as an end, they see it as a staircase to power. There is a reason why the masses stay average. It's not a matter of intelligence or resources or education. It's a matter of philosophy, a mindset so deeply wired it becomes invisible unless you have the courage to rip off the blindfold. The rich, the truly wealthy, the ones who create legacies and shift the tides of history. They have learned to think in a language the poor never speak, not with arrogance, but with design, not with greed, but with vision. They've trained their minds to defy fear, to reject limitation, and to bend reality with belief. Think of Henry Ford, a man who dared to believe that the automobile could be for the everyman, not just the elite. He was told it couldn't be done by engineers, by bankers, by experts. And his response, whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. That wasn't just a clever quote. That was a declaration of war on mediocrity. Because here's the truth no one wants to hear. Most people are hypnotized by limitation, trained like animals to stay in their mental cages. They don't question, they obey. They chase safety. They avoid risk. And they worship comfort like it's a god. But wealth, real wealth, lives on the edge of discomfort. It lives in the mind of the individual who refuses to let fear write their story. There is a psychological divide between the rich and the average, not one of ego, one of expectation. The rich don't hope they'll succeed, they expect it. And when they fail, they study the loss like scientists, not victims. It's not money that separates the rich from the poor. It's the inner dialogue, the story they tell themselves when no one's watching, the beliefs that shape their decisions in the dark, the way they respond when life punches them in the mouth. Because here's the secret the system never taught you. Money is just a reflection, a mirror, a loud echo of the thoughts you think and the standards you live by. You don't earn wealth by chasing it. You attract it by becoming the kind of person who commands it. Let that sink in. The poor chase money like prey. The rich become the magnet. They think, they learn, they invest in their minds until the world bends toward their gravity. This isn't a fairy tale. This is physics. You become what you believe. You attract what you expect. You manifest what you tolerate. The rich expect abundance, and they do the internal work to deserve it. Because here's the reality. You will never rise above the identity you've accepted. If deep down you believe you're just getting by, you will never soar. If you see wealth as evil, you'll never touch it. If you resent the successful, you will repel their results. Wealth begins in the spirit before it ever reaches the pocket. Andrew Carnegie understood this. A poor Scottish immigrant who became the richest man in America, not by inheritance, but by mindset. He once said, "The man who acquires the ability to take full possession of his own mind may take possession of anything else to which he is justly entitled." Do you see the pattern? It's not luck. It's not inheritance. It's mental sovereignty. The rich own their minds. They feed them daily. They challenge them constantly. They protect them fiercely. They don't consume garbage content. They don't waste energy on gossip or envy. They build thought, empires, while others scroll endlessly. Because they know the mind is a weapon. And if you don't control it, someone else will. Now ask yourself this: who's been shaping your beliefs? Who taught you what's realistic? Who told you money doesn't grow on trees? That rich people are selfish. That dreaming big is dangerous. Was it someone successful? Or was it someone afraid? You see, poverty isn't just a lack of money. It's a lack of awareness. A spiritual malnutrition passed down through generations, wrapped in good intentions but rooted in fear. But you have the power to break that chain. Not just for yourself, but for everyone who comes after you. That's the responsibility the rich understand. They're not just building wealth for pleasure. They're building legacy. They're shifting the bloodline. They're designing lives where their children don't inherit trauma. They inherit vision. And that vision starts with radical clarity. While the average mind drifts like a leaf in the wind, the wealthy carve their goals in granite. They decide what they want with precision and burn the boats behind them. They don't dabble. They commit. They don't try. They become. That's the mindset difference. That's the chasm between survival and significance. It's the ability to see beyond today, to think in decades, to act as if the future is already real, and then build it backwards. Walt Disney stared at a swamp in Florida and saw a kingdom. Everyone else saw mosquitoes. He saw castles. That's not delusion. That's vision backed by belief. And here's the uncomfortable truth. If you don't train your mind to imagine greatness, it will default to mediocrity. The world will offer you distractions, comfort, entertainment, excuses. But it will never hand you purpose. You must dig for that yourself. And once you have it, once you own your why, you must guard it like a sacred fire. The rich don't need external motivation. They are internally ignited, lit from within by something deeper than money, something eternal. They understand that purpose is the ultimate currency, and everything else, the homes, the cars, the wealth, those are just byproducts of alignment. You don't get rich by chasing money. You get rich by becoming valuable. You don't climb by pushing others down. You rise by lifting yourself into rare air, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. That's the great paradox. The rich don't think about lack. They think about creation. They're not obsessed with what's missing. They're obsessed with what's possible. So while the average person fears inflation, recession, layoffs, the rich are busy building, creating, launching, inventing, because they know that wealth is never truly lost. It just moves, and it always moves toward those who are bold enough to seize it. The money never disappears. It changes hands, and it flows almost magnetically to those who understand one truth: value creates wealth, not time, not labor. Value, and value begins in the mind. The average man sells his hours. The rich sell their impact. One trades minutes for money. The other trades ideas for empires. That's why one man works 80 hours a week and stays broke, while another writes a sentence, builds a system, or launches a vision and creates generational wealth, because wealth has never obeyed effort. It obeys leverage. It obeys clarity. It obeys belief. And belief is not some passive daydream. It is a force, a weapon, a spiritual declaration that bends the rules of reality in your favor. Thomas Edison didn't invent the light bulb on his first try. He failed over 10,000 times. But he never used the word failure, because in his mind, every failure was a teacher. Every no was a directional sign pointing toward the yes. The average mind stops at failure. The rich mind studies it. They know that adversity is not a sign to quit. It's the proving ground of the worthy. And that's why most people never get rich, not because they're not capable, but because they can't handle the emotional weight of the journey. They think success is supposed to feel good. It doesn't. It feels like doubt, like isolation, like bleeding in silence while everyone laughs at your dream. But the rich, they walk through that fire willingly, because they know the treasure is on the other side of pain. They don't need applause. They don't need permission. They've made peace with the storm and learned to build in the rain. That's what separates the driven from the drifting. Purpose, conviction, discipline. Not the kind of discipline that's forced, but the kind that's chosen. The kind born from a deep, burning desire to live a life that matters. See, the poor think discipline is punishment. The rich know it's freedom. Because every moment you delay gratification, every hour you sacrifice pleasure for progress, you're building a future self who no longer has to beg for scraps. You're buying your freedom in advance. But that freedom only comes if you master one truth. You are responsible for everything. That's a hard pill to swallow in a world addicted to blame. But it's the gateway to power. Because the moment you stop blaming the economy, the government, your boss, your parents, the moment you take full ownership of your outcomes, is the moment you unlock unshakable control. The rich don't waste time crying about circumstances. They bend them, they adapt, they evolve. They understand that reality is a mirror, not a master, and that mirror reflects the internal state of the operator. If your life is chaos, look within. If your finances are broken, look within. If you feel lost, it's not because the world is confusing. It's because your vision isn't clear enough. Vision is the compass. Without it, every distraction becomes a detour. But with it, every obstacle becomes fuel. The rich don't wake up and wonder what to do. They wake up and execute what was already decided the night before. Because their mission isn't optional. It's a non-negotiable. You don't build a fortune by accident. You build it the same way you build a cathedral. One stone one day, one decision at a time. And each decision must be guided by clarity. Clarity isn't about knowing every step. It's about knowing the destination. Martin Luther King Jr. didn't have a road map. He had a dream, and he walked forward in faith. That's how movements are built. That's how fortunes are created. That's how legacies are forged in fire, not through luck, through vision guided by unbreakable belief. And that belief must be fed daily. The rich don't wake up and hope they feel good. They engineer their emotional states. They read. They reflect. They prime their minds like elite athletes prime their bodies, because they know the battle is mental long before it's ever financial. That's why you'll never hear a true wealth builder say, "I can't." They've deleted those words from their vocabulary. They say, "How can I? What's the angle? What don't I see yet?" They question like philosophers and build like warriors. And they don't wait for permission to start. That's another fatal mindset difference. The average person waits for a sign. The rich become the sign. They don't ask, "Am I ready?" They declare, "I decide." Because here's what they know: readiness is a myth. Certainty is a trap. The only way to build confidence is to begin. So they leap, not recklessly, but intentionally. And when they land in chaos, as they inevitably will, they don't crumble. They adjust. They pivot. They refine. They understand the power of adaptability. While others cling to what's comfortable, the wealthy evolve with the storm. Look at Amazon. Started as a bookstore. Now it's an empire, because Jeff Bezos didn't marry the method. He married the mission. That's how wealth works. It rewards those who stay committed to the outcome, but flexible with the path. Because success never looks like you imagine. It's uglier, messier, more brutal, but also more beautiful, because every scar is a badge, every failure a foundation, every setback a signal to level up. The rich know this. They expect resistance. They embrace it like a personal trainer embraces pain, because they know what breaks the weak builds the unstoppable. And that's what you must become. Not just wealthy, but unbreakable. Not because of what you own, but because of who you've become. Because wealth is never about money. It's about identity. Do you carry yourself like a king or a peasant? Do you think like a creator or a consumer? Do you walk into the room with power, or wait for someone to hand it to you? The rich don't wait. They embody. They think like leaders long before the world recognizes them. They live in alignment long before the world rewards them. They act like visionaries long before anyone calls them genius, because they understand. The world doesn't believe until you do, and most people never believe. Not truly hope. They wish. But they don't decide. That's the final shift, the one that changes everything. When you move from wanting to deciding, from dreaming to demanding, from hoping to knowing, the universe begins to rearrange. Not because it's magic, but because you've aligned your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions in one powerful, immovable direction. And when you live from that place, the world has no choice but to respond. Because the universe doesn't give you what you beg for. It gives you what you expect. And expectation is built on identity. Not what you say you are, but what you truly believe behind closed doors. Do you walk through life like someone who is worthy of wealth, of power, of legacy? Or do you shrink when the door cracks open? Do you step through, or do you wait to be invited? The rich don't wait for doors. They build them. They kick them open. And if there's no door at all, they make one out of sheer will. Because the rich don't ask, "Is this allowed?" They ask, "Is this necessary for the vision I've claimed?" And once that answer is yes, nothing will stop them. Look at Oprah Winfrey. Born into poverty, molested as a child, told she'd never make it on television, fired, rejected, mocked it. And yet she believed, not because she had proof, but because she had purpose. She had vision. And she had the discipline to keep showing up, even when no one clapped. That's what the rich understand. External validation is irrelevant. You don't need applause when you're already aligned. You don't need motivation when you've already decided. Because there's a fire in the wealthy that doesn't need fuel. It is the fuel. That fire burns in the dark. When the bank account is low, when the friends disappear, when the failures pile up, it keeps burning because it doesn't come from the world. It comes from within. That's why you can't fake it. You can't cheat your way into this level of power. You either earn it through inner work, or you crumble at the first storm, and storms will come. Oh, they'll come like a flood when you rise. See, the world will test your belief. It will whisper, "Who do you think you are?" It will try to pull you back to average, not because it hates you, but because you threaten its comfort zone. When you rise, you force others to confront their own excuses, and not everyone will clap for that. But the rich, they don't need the noise. They have clarity. They have resilience. They have adaptability. They pivot when the world shifts. They evolve when the market turns. They are liquid in form, but solid in purpose, because they don't identify with the method. They identify with the mission. If you take their business, they'll build another. If you shut one door, they'll open 5. If you rob them of comfort, they'll create power. That's why you can't destroy someone who knows who they are. You can't break a mind that owns its beliefs. And that's the real wealth. Not the watches, the cars, the yaks. Those are toys, symbols, echoes of something much deeper. The real wealth is the man or woman you must become to create those things. It's the disciplined mind, the unshakable spirit, the relentless vision. It's the ability to think clearly when others panic, to move with precision when others hesitate, to stand alone, if necessary, until the world catches up. Because the truth is, most people never leave the herd. They never question the system. They never challenge the script handed to them at birth. But the rich, they burn the script. They write a new one. And they do it on purpose. They don't stumble into greatness. They engineer it every day, every hour, every decision, even when it's inconvenient, especially when it's inconvenient, because they understand that greatness lies on the other side of consistency, not talent. Consistency. You think Elon Musk became a billionaire because he's smarter than you? No. It's because he's obsessed. Obsessed with solving problems others ignore. Obsessed with the mission, not the reward. And when the mission consumes you, when you wake up thinking about it, sleep dreaming about it, and move through the day acting on it, the world bends. It has to, because your energy becomes undeniable. That's the kind of thinking that rewrites history. That's the mindset that prints new realities. That's the consciousness of the wealthy. And here's the beautiful thing. It's not reserved for the elite. It's not locked behind ivy-covered gates. It's not hidden in secret vaults. It's in you. Right now, dormant maybe, but ready, waiting for you to remember who you are. Waiting for you to stop negotiating with your fears. Waiting for you to say, enough, I decide who I am. Because you do. You always have. And the moment you stop outsourcing that power, the moment you stop blaming, stop waiting, stop doubting, and you choose with all your heart to rise, everything changes. Because wealth doesn't start in the wallet. It starts in the mind, and the rich, they think differently. Because once the shift happens in your mind, the world begins to respond in kind. The doors you thought were locked open. The people you needed appear. The ideas that once felt impossible suddenly feel inevitable. But only when you become the version of yourself who's ready. Not ready in comfort, not ready in theory, but ready in identity. You become the person who no longer tolerates average, who no longer settles, who no longer explains or apologizes for wanting more. Because here's the truth. There is nothing noble about staying small. There is nothing admirable about silencing your potential to fit in. There is no glory in poverty of the spirit. Yes, wealth is a responsibility. Yes, power requires maturity. But make no mistake, you were not born to blend in. You were not born to beg for permission. You were not born to survive. You were born to build, to create, to lead, to dominate your space, not just participate in it. And to do that, you must become ruthlessly honest with yourself. Are your thoughts aligned with where you're going? Are your daily habits aligned with the life you say you want? Are your standards reflective of someone deserving of wealth? Because the truth is, the universe pays attention to the energy you embody, not the words you speak. You can talk about success all day. You can post quotes, read books, make plans, but if you think like a victim, act like a coward, or move like someone waiting to be saved, nothing will happen. Because wealth is not about what you want. It's about what you become. Do you think Carnegie became one of the richest men in history because he was lucky? No, he was obsessed with industry. He was consumed with strategy. He read books, studied masters, learned from every mistake like it was a sacred teacher. And when he rose, he brought others with him. He understood the highest level of wealth, is impact. And that's what the rich knowing money is a byproduct of vision, of value, of deep, radical contribution. You want become more. Develop such mastery in your craft that the world has no choice but to reward you. Refuse to be mediocre at anything you touch. Speak with clarity. Act with precision. Live with purpose. And watch what happens. The world may not notice at first. You may grind in silence for years. You may lose friends. You may doubt yourself in the midnight hours of your journey. But if you keep showing up, if you hold the line, if you refuse to let the vision die inside you, you will rise. You must rise, because the laws of this world are not set by men in suits. They are set by those who understand the rules of creation. And creation belongs to the mind. You must see it before you hold it. You must believe it before you live it. And once that belief is locked in, you become inevitable. The rich are not mystical. They are not chosen. They are not superhuman. They are committed. Committed to the inner work. Committed to vision. Committed to the uncomfortable process of becoming. Because at the highest level, wealth is not measured in dollars. It is measured in discipline, in clarity, in power over self. And once you have that, the money, the success, the legacy, they are just side effects. But you don't get there by hoping. You don't get there by watching. You don't get there by waiting. You get there by deciding, right now. Not tomorrow, not next year, not when it's convenient, now, because your time is not infinite. Your window is not guaranteed. And the life you're dreaming about, it's slipping through your fingers every day you hesitate. The greats didn't wait. Lincoln didn't wait. Disney didn't wait. Ford didn't wait. They started with what they had were, and they moved. So move. Move with fire. Move with certainty. Move like a person who is done living in the shadows of their potential. Because the truth is, if you're not thinking like the rich, you're being trained by the poor. And if you're not leading your mind, the world will do it for you. But you didn't come here to be led. You came to lead. You came to create. You came to awaken the power that's been buried beneath years of conditioning fear and quiet desperation. You came to rise. So rise. Burn the excuses. Let go of the old self. Silence the noise. And step boldly into the wealth that is already yours. If you have the courage to claim it. Because the rich, they don't wait. They decide. And that is why they think differently.